Party with your host, Dustin Rybka.
Hello and welcome to Sex Party. I'm your host, Dustin Rybka. This is episode 48. Do you want to have more sex? Do you want to have more orgasms? Do you want to discover things about yourself that would make your sex life better? My guest this week, Lindsey Darger, has a lot to say about all three of those items and a lot more. She is returning to Sex Party. She was on the show months ago. She's amazing. This episode is super value-packed. There's a lot of talk about the Jurassic Park theme song and how you could potentially use that during oral sex. It's a good one. And without further ado, let's get to it. This is my conversation with Lindsey Darger.
This week's conversation.
Lindsey Darger, I love when I get to say this. Welcome back to Sex Party. How are you doing?
Oh, I'm so good today and so excited to be back. I recently re-listened to our last episode, knowing that I was coming back to the show, and it was so fun to revisit that and just get excited to be back for another conversation.
Yeah. No, it was a doozy the last time. Powerful episode. It was a ton of fun. Little chaos, lots of value. And, we dove into some conspiratorial stuff towards the end of the episode. It was really fucking great. People have actually said to me, you guys have a point. And so, that's great. Yeah, it's really great.
Food for thought.
Mm-hmm. Totally. So how have you been since our last episode? What's been going on in the pussy paint night world, the pussy power world, and your world?
I've been going through a lot of shifts in the last 6 months. So my partner and I moved. If you're watching this on camera, we're not in my office anymore. There's like this wooden pyramid behind me. We live in a cabin in the middle of fucking nowhere, which has been a really big breath of fresh air just to get outside of the city and just reconnect with, myself, my partner, and just lots of shifts going on in my business too. So since I moved, I'm no longer doing local pussy paint nights, but I did create a digital format for that. So I'm now selling that on my website for anyone to access that. So now you don't have to live in Utah. You can just purchase it and do it at your own leisure, do it with some girlfriends and learn anatomy and do your own at-home pussy paint night. So yeah, just some transitions and doing still my group coaching and my one-on-one coaching, but moving has been a big change.
Yeah, no. And I feel like that's where we were all hoping it would head to a digital format so people could. I think we might even talked about it in the last episode. So I think that's incredible. And it's amazing that it's now available to anyone who might want to participate in the pussy paint night. I was like, when you told me that, I was like, fuck yeah. Like, okay, mind blowing. Right. And I think, one of the things with that too is like people might be nervous or something to like go, and maybe they don't have a ton of people who would go with them. And so now bing bong, there you go.
There for you. And what's nice is it's broken down into like different modules. So it's easy to navigate. Like if you just want to like go back to the crash course on the G-spot or on the cervix or something, you don't have to do like the whole video. And if you're like, I don't want to paint, you don't have to. You can just like purchase the content and learn the information. So whatever's your style, it's there for you.
Fuck yeah. And when this is being recorded, Christmas is around the corner, guys. So, order it for yourself, order it for your friends.
Well, since you mentioned that, I actually wanted to bring it up on our call today since we talked about it last time. And I put together a discount code for the listeners.
Amazing.
So if you want 50% off for the holidays, the discount code is Sex Party. So yeah, you can put that in the show notes and go check it out, guys.
Yeah, no, I encourage everyone to run over there and sign up and do the goddamn thing. Have some fucking fun.
Paint.
Yeah, paint, drink. Oh, they can drink now. They're at home. Boom. God, I'm always pushing drinking. What the fuck?
I always
whatever.
say it's a party over here. It's fine.
Yeah, they're used to it. So you moved out of the city. We love if you're watching this on YouTube, you're seeing it. It looks like you're clearly in a cabin. You said that's been great. How has it affected your sex life with your partner?
The frequency has definitely gone up. Just like any long-term relationship, there's lulls, there's ups and downs, and that's the same for me. And being that I work in sex education, and this is kind of what I do all of the time, I find that sometimes there can be this interesting pressure on my relationship of like learning new things and trying new things and always expanding and growing, because that just fills my cup. But for my partner, it's like being able to really slow down out here together and reconnect in with not only what excites me and what makes me feel really good and lit up, but like things that really take care of him. I feel like have increased in a completely different way. And we've only been here for about 3 months, but it's like we're alone out here, so there's not a whole lot to do, which means there's more time for sex, which has been great all around, just to reconnect and to explore and to do and to try new things, but also to kind of get back to like the basics of our relationship and the way that we connect and relate to each other. It's been honestly one of the best things for us. And our goal, the reason we moved out here, is to buy a camper sometime in the next few months heading into spring, summer, and we want to travel full time, do the RV life and go explore, since we both work digitally. So that's where we're headed, and we're really excited about it.
Very cool. I know quite a few people who have done the nomadic thing, have driven around, and it seems to do something to the person, right? Their relationship, because it's usually people that are in a relationship do it. And I think that's great. And I always seem to see a change, almost like immediately once it starts, right? Like, and I feel like that obviously you're gonna see a change in your sex life as well. Have there been any issues like that? Things maybe you didn't think would be a thing, or like I don't know. I feel like
living out here.
yeah, just like taking space and like being with your partner and being away from being more isolated, right? But not in a bad way, but like, I feel like there's probably issues that could come up.
Totally. So I came across something on social media that said, it was like a reel or TikTok that some girl did, and in the caption it said, how can we never talk about how lonely being in a long-term relationship can be? And I was like, holy shit, like that's so true, because I'm always with him. We're building this life together, and we both work at home. So it's like we don't even really like go out unless we have like social plans, at least when we lived in Salt Lake, So moving out here and then kind of like taking an axe to our social life, and always being at home together, that hit for me. I was like, whoa, like it is a little bit lonely in the sense that he already knows everything about my day and he knows how I'm feeling, and we do talk, but there's not like the new exciting things to share, like, oh, this happened at work, or oh, I was with a friend and this experience happened, right? So that's been a little bit of a learning curve of how do we create more of that like nuance, that newness, that excitement in our relationship while living together all the time and being together all the time. And how do we still take care of our own needs separate from each other? Like me still getting out and like going for a walk or going to the gym. There's a tiny little gym here, or just doing things to take care of me so that we're not like so intertwined all the time. Does that make sense?
It does.
It's been new to navigate it, but I feel like it's really strengthened our relationship at the same time, because it's allowed us to have more conversations about it and get real. And sometimes they've been hard conversations of like, yo, like I need some fucking space in my day. Like I'm going to just go disappear, and it has nothing to do with you or us. I just like, for my own mental sanity, we kind of have to still be our own unique individuals instead of becoming this like meshed together thing. So yeah, it's been challenging in ways, but also, like I said, it's like just as equally rewarding. So I wouldn't change it. And we are really actually loving it out here.
Is that what you say when you need space? Is I'm gonna fucking disappear?
I'm gonna fucking leave. I'm sick of your shit.
I'm taking this
No.
axe. I'm going in the fucking woods. I'm gonna disappear.
I'm gonna go cut down a tree.
Yeah.
That would actually be fun. Where we're at, it's like very desert landscape. So it's not like the cabin that you would think. There's no trees. It's just like tumbleweeds.
Right. Right.
I can't cut down shit, unfortunately. I just have to go, to the gym. But
Yeah.
it's there's something about slowing down. Like the people who run the coffee shop in town, like they know us and our orders, and like I don't know, there's something just quaint about being in this small space and knowing that like the people in the community like know you and call you by name and care about you. And that's already happened in like less than 12 weeks living here. Like the people out here are so nice. And so it's just beautiful, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, that's sort of my backup plan, right? If Sex Party doesn't work out, if I get fucking, I don't know, like canceled or something happens, right? I'll just like disappear to a small little mountain town and like grow a beard and,
Always the
quietly.
plan. You have to grow a lot of facial hair.
Yeah, for sure. I think I'm describing like the last season of Dexter, but either way, whatever, it's fine. It's fine. That's my plan. So now everybody knows my secret backup plan. So, you said a couple things that I think are really important, right? If you're in this relationship and, space is a thing. And I think people do get offended, right? And I feel like a lot of relationships, they really grind each other down till there's just nothing left of the relationship because they both think, oh, I'm rude if I take space, or he's rude if he takes space, or she's rude, or where's she going? And a lot of people don't let, at least in the unhealthy relationships I grew up with and have seen through most of my life, and all of my divorced friends, right, is like, she'll yell at him for too much Xbox. He'll yell at her for going out with the girls. And it's like, how do we cut that shit out? Like, you are someone who's actually doing it. You're in a fucking cabin, right? You're with your partner. You guys are taking space. It sounds like you're voicing the need for that, but I feel like most people don't, at least in that old shitty model I described.
Yeah. Well, and sometimes you don't even realize that that's what you need. Like you just find yourself in this depressive state or ridden with anxiety, and like you just are like, I don't feel like myself. Where is that peace? That just feels like me. And that's kind of the point that, I got to, I think both of us to some degree of like, we've been together for 4 years now. This is the longest we've bettered a relationship, him and I. And, it just, there's phases to relationships. And I think the only way to create longevity in any type of relationships, whether, you're even poly and you're with multiple people, is through healthy communication and being truthful and honest and transparent about how you're doing, and recognizing that like you don't have to be fucking put together and perfect all the time, especially in front of this person who you're sharing your life with. And like you said, it's some people really struggle with that. And I would say the first thing is just identify that that's a need that's not being met. Like ask yourself, like if you don't feel like you're in a great space, instead of projecting that onto your partner and saying, well, he or she's doing this, let's reel it back in and take a little self-accountability and ask, like, what needs am I not meeting for myself? What do I need to feel more like myself? Think back to maybe when you were single before you met this person. Like, what did you do? Were you more engaged in your community? Did you do like meetups or workout classes or hang out with your friends more frequently? Like, what makes you feel like you? Did you take art classes? Like, get back to that. Ask yourself, okay, what do I need to do and how can I fill that need? And then communicate that to your partner so that it's not, well, you're playing Xbox too much, or you're not fulfilling my needs and you're not doing enough and you need to do more because I feel empty inside and that's your fucking problem. Rewind. No, it's not. It's your fucking problem, as in you, yourself, and I. So ask yourself that and then go from that place. And I find, at least in my own relationship, that's when it's received well. Like, hey, I'm realizing that I feel a little bit like anxiety ridden. I wake up and like thoughts rush in and I feel stressed. I'm trying to work on my business. I'm trying to feed our relationship. I'm trying to take care of myself. And I just feel so overwhelmed. So like, I actually need to get back to my basics. And my basics are getting outside in nature, going for a walk, taking care of my body through yoga or working out, feeding myself good food, time with friends, even though I'm not around friends. Like I'll go and just go for a walk and call one of my girlfriends and have a 30-minute chat while I walk. Things like that I need to build back into my day so that when I'm with my partner, I'm just happy. I feel like myself, and that's not projected onto him and vice versa. And that just opened up a whole conversation of this is how I feel, this is what I need, and how about you? Like, what do you need? And he got to share that with me, and we get to support each other in that.
So even like, have you always been a good communicator with your partner, or was there a time where you like struggled with it? Because I feel like, you know, you are a coach and you know, obviously a fucking awesome one and you know your shit, right? But like most people don't. So was there a time where you weren't communicating very well with your partner, and like what were the repercussions of that?
I mean, absolutely. Like I'm not perfect at communication. I feel like I try to do my best. And I would say my number one tool for that is self-reflection and ownership, radical ownership of like, how can I take responsibility for this and not project it? But we still get into fights, and we've been together, like I said, for 4 years. And it's funny, there's like this one fight that we get into on repeat. And when it happens again, we're always like, how the fuck are we having this fight again? Like it's ridiculous. And then we just come at it the best we can and like try to work out different solutions maybe that we haven't tried before. And then we just do our best moving forward. But I would say the thing that has helped grow our communication from maybe the first time we had this fight, which I'll share, is about the way that I manage my time and the way that he manages his time. And he's very like logical, very like on the dot with his time. Like you will never fucking catch him late to anything. And I'm more like, I'm 10 minutes late. Mm-hmm. So that's the fight. And it's like, you know, that's my habitual way of being and that's his. And, you know, the reason it's a fight is because when I don't show up on time, for him, it makes him feel less valued. Like it makes him feel like I don't value his time or being with him in a certain way. So we've kind of gotten to the root of it and why that feels like a vulnerability or something that like makes him angry. But the best thing we can do is just like recognize that it's happening again, and we can work together towards me showing up more on time and him also like loosening his grip on this expectation that it has to be perfect. So, you know, like we'll probably have the fucking fight again. And I'm like, that's okay. We could have it for the next 20 years together, but ultimately we're choosing love every time instead of letting that one little fucking thing be the death of us. You know, it's like, so it's really when you like zoom out and you can get a little perspective and not be so entrenched in your problems, you can like laugh about it and be like, this is actually really fucking ridiculous, but you know, it's fine. So yeah, we still have fights, and I'm not like the best communicator in the world, but I'm always trying. That's all we can do, you guys. Like just give it your best shot, and wherever you can, take accountability and just try something different. And if it doesn't work, great. Like you failed forward, try something again. And like in that process, we're being human, we're growing, we're evolving. And if you're with someone who wants to grow and evolve with you, then that'll be fucking enough. You don't have to be perfect.
Well, I mean, I'm on your side, okay? As someone who's on time all the time, who's logical with their time, that's annoying. I mean, that's really annoying, okay? So I agree with you. You know, you got to be a little late. Can't always be on time. Things are happening. I saw TikTok. I mean, things happen. So yeah. We side with you. He's annoying. No, but
no, there's good and bad. I feel very validated in that, and thank God he like has our schedule put together because you know it's really adds a lot. It adds a lot of like greatness to our relationship. I love that I can depend on him in that way. I love that he's never late. I love that he respects my time. I love that I can count on him. I feel safe with him because of that. Right. So, like I can take a page out of that book and flip it around and self-reflect and be like, okay, how can I just do my best to be mindful of it? But yeah, I don't know if it'll ever change because man, it's my whole life.
You got to do you, man, and it's, and this goes more into like our main topic today. Right. But like communication, and I've hit it so many fucking times on the show. Because of this show, I'm getting better at it in my own life, my sex life. It seems incredibly easy. I was pretty direct and blunt before. Now I'm even more, which is just an absolute fucking gift, but you have to learn it, right? If communication is so important, right? If communication is the key to happiness, Lindsey, what the fuck? Why are we all screwing up with it so bad? And how can we be better?
Excuse me.
Of course, it's that mountain air or desert air, whatever. I don't know.
Yeah, a mix, a combination of all of it. I'm gonna go back again to we're not being honest with ourselves. Like, it's interesting how this is the common thread between most things in at least my own life and in my coaching. Last episode we talked all about anatomy and like self-pleasuring, and my main thing, and I'm always driving that home, is if you want to have a great sex life, like understand your own body and self-pleasure and build a relationship with yourself so that then you can take that into the bedroom and know what you like and ask for what you want and enjoy the fucking process, because like you've already built that relationship. So I'm just going to like throw that into the mix here when we're talking about communication. There's a level of self-reflection that needs to take place. You need to be able to be honest with yourself, even when it's difficult, and have those hard conversations. Like, people think healthy communication and good communication is about like, we communicate so great and we're like always happy and like we always are like on the same page and everything just works for us because we communicate so good. And I'm like, well, to some degree, with healthy communication, you can get to where your day-to-day is the majority of that type of energy. But to get there, you actually have to go through the shit first. Like, good communication is having the hard conversations so that then when you move past that, it's not this like chip on your shoulder. It's not this like built up resentment from something that happened 6 months ago that you never talked about because you didn't want to have a fight. It's like, have the fucking fight. You don't need to scream at each other. You don't need to be cruel, call each other names. Like, there's a way to build that communication, like those kind of smaller techniques of how to communicate and take ownership. But it comes down to being willing to be vulnerable, because that's what is at the core of having a hard conversation. The reason you don't have the conversation is because you're scared shitless that they will reject you, that they will not love you anymore, that they will end it. They will, so many things. We build up this whole thing in our head that we will not be lovable ultimately. And that's scary as fuck. So we just don't have the conversation. And then it comes in the way of creating intimacy. Then when you're in the bedroom and you're having sex, instead of feeling deeply connected in that moment, there's like this small wall between you. And that wall is that conversation you never had. And that wall just gets thicker and thicker and thicker the more you don't have these conversations. But if you just had it in that moment, like, you would be so surprised at how easily you can overcome that together as a team. I think people forget that when you're in a partnership or in a healthy relationship, like, they're your fucking teammate. Like, they're not your enemy. Like, you're on the same side and you're working towards a common goal. So if you can just like know that, feel that, and then jump anyways and have the hard conversation, even though it feels scary and like maybe you won't be loved, what you'll often find is compassion on the other side, understanding, because they're fucking human too. Love, empathy, and a partner and someone there to support you in becoming a better person and working on that thing that you're struggling with. So yeah, you just got to have the conversation. And then when you're in the bedroom, then it's like deep and intimate. And there's that like openness and safety and surrender and trust and connection. And that's ultimately what leads to those deeper orgasms we were talking about last time, like clitoral or not clitoral. Clitoral are great, but more of the G spot and specifically cervical orgasms.
Right. Yeah. And that's the thing, right? You said as a team. And I think, again, this fucking shitty, like outdated, like busted ass model of relationships, that we all kind of grew up with or around, it doesn't lend itself to being a team. There's like this weird thing where like one partner has to put the screws to the other partner to like whatever. And, I've seen dudes go with their buddies out drinking like, oh God, the ball and chain. Or then I've seen like women like go out with their girls and they're like, oh my God, Randy won't shut the fuck up about work or like whatever. And it's like, that's not a team. That's like someone you've chosen to fucking whip and beat all the time to make yourself feel better and get annoyed with. And that to me is so gross. And that model of relationships kept me away from relationships for a very, very long time.
I mean, yeah, if that's what you've been modeled and that's what you've seen, who the fuck wants that?
Yeah.
Like nobody wants that. It's degrading. Yeah. And I feel like the person you're with is an extension of who you are. So if you are talking shit on your partner all the time, that is just a mirror and a reflection of how you talk to yourself and the level of I don't know, I feel like abuse is a pretty like extreme word for this, but the level of like abuse that you're willing to put up with. And it's like, you think if I'm going to go out and talk bad about my partner, this is just me venting, but it's also like, well, no, you're choosing that. And so if you're coming out and you're just saying, well, my boyfriend always does this and he never listens and he never does this. And it's just, you're complaining and gossiping about it. Like, one, that's not fixing your fucking relationship. Two, it makes you feel shittier at the end of the day because you know that like you're not having that conversation with that person. You haven't had that conversation, but instead of being vulnerable and choosing the hard choice to get to the better solution, you're just going out with your buddies and like talking shit because that gives you a felt sense of relief. It's like letting off steam, like on a steam pot. It's like, a little bit of relief, but do you know what would actually give you that relief and resolution is having the fucking conversation with the person that you're talking about.
Yeah.
Talk to that person, and like you said, it's hard when that's what we're modeled to then know how to create a healthy relationship. I shared in the last episode we did together that I grew up in a polygamous family. So my dad had 2 wives. And it was so interesting watching how my 3 parents handled their relationship dynamic. And specifically my father, he would get upset at one of his wives. And instead of creating resolution, he would get up and leave and then go to the other wife's house. We lived in separate homes. So there was no resolution. Like I was modeled the same shit. It was like, instead of dealing with your problems, you run.
Yeah.
And you leave. And he had the option to be like, well, fuck you, I'm going to her house. Oh, fuck you, I'm going to her house. And so it's like, for me though, as a child, I saw that and was like, whoa, like, I don't want this shit. I want to learn how to stay. I want to learn how to work through things because I never really saw that happen. Mm-hmm. And that's one of my main goals in my own relationship is like, no, I'm not just going to give up because it's hard at any point. If eventually any relationship were to end, great, like that happens and it happens all the time, but give it like a fighting chance and actually put something into it rather than cowering and running away just because it feels hard and scary. Like if you want a chance at love, you have to be able to give it a chance. Like real love and real devotion and real commitment to another person.
Well, I mean, my thing is always like, why the fuck are you with this person? If her food sucks, if he sucks in bed, if they're, watching cartoons at full volume at 3 a.m. when you're trying to sleep or whatever your fucked up shit is, like, why keep going with your friends and fucking complaining? Just fucking end the goddamn relationship.
100%.
You fucking coward.
If you're at the level where you're just constantly complaining about that person,
You're a pussy. You're a coward.
Stop being a little bitch and just leave.
Exactly.
Or like also stop being a little bitch and start having some real conversations to get to the point where you can then decide, oh, this is actually worth fighting for and putting in some actual work and effort. Or no, this is actually just not my person. They have a bunch of fucking things that I don't like. They don't treat me well. And I should leave this relationship out of self-respect for myself because I love me and I deserve someone who treats me well.
Yeah.
That starts with you. So leave the relationship and start working on treating yourself better and taking care of yourself and loving yourself, because like attracts like. And when you get there, that's when you're going to meet that person who can actually take care of you because they take care of themselves, and vice versa.
Yeah. And I mean, it brings up the idea, the concept that we're going to like dive into now on the show, which is all that being said, it sets the table for this, right? Let's say they're in a relationship, their communication's getting better, they're working on it, and they just want to get laid more. They want more sex, right? There's that fear there that we talked about. But like maybe he's not putting it down the way she likes it. She doesn't want to hurt his feelings. Maybe she's not, I don't know, sucking his dick or whatever, however the relationship looks, right? How do people like cut the shit and truly say it? Like, how do you tell someone in a way that's not going to wreck their feelings and cause all this problems? Because there is sensitivity levels. Some people are up here, some people are down here.
Yeah.
We're all about healthy relationships because, we've been in toxic ones in the past, and, you want to have a better communication strategy. But when it comes to sex, how do people get more sex, better sex?
Yes. This honestly really does set up this kind of conversation, everything we've been saying. So first thing, just to tie a bow on everything that we just shared, focus on you first. Okay. So like, make sure that you're filling your own cup, just because you're just going to show up as your best self in the relationship. At that point, like you said, you're showing up as your best self, you're communicating better than you have, like things are good, but you still want more. You want more sex, you want more intimacy, you want to experience or try new things, you don't know how to ask for it, you don't want to hurt feelings, right? Like you're being conscious and aware of the other person, and you don't want to like create a problem where maybe it doesn't need to be. So again, we're just going to revisit, have the hard conversation. Like you can't get what you want if you don't ask for it. Like nobody can read your mind. So you get to start asking for it. Now, I just posted about this yesterday. I was on a one-on-one coaching call with a client, and we were actually talking about this topic. So it's funny that this was what you wanted to address in today's episode. And something I said to her is, if you want to have more sex, have more sex. Like sex begets more sex. And the more frequently you have it, the more you want to have it, right? Like if we just put it on the back burner, we have sex maybe every 2 weeks, every month. It's like the less frequently we do it, the less we could give a shit about it. It's like, that's with anything in life, right? Like top of mind awareness. So something that I would say to any of you listening, if you want more sex, have more sex and plan to have more sex. So I always encourage my clients to build in a sex date once a week. So this is a time during the week, 30 to 60 minutes minimum. You can always go up from there, where this time is dedicated to sex. And it's not just having sex, it's the conversation about sex. So what do you like? What did you like about when we had sex last? What did you like? What did you want to see more of? Did you enjoy the orgasm? How did that feel for you? Are there like things that you want to try in the bedroom that maybe we haven't yet? Like this is a space for you to actually have the conversation. I think where a lot of people fail at this is they try to have this conversation immediately following sex or during sex. It's like, no, I don't like that. Do it this way, or do it that way. Or they stop it all together and say like, no, that's not working for me. I'm just done. You know, and they walk away. Or right after sex, it's like, well, I liked this. Maybe do more of that next time. That can sometimes feel a little like a hit to the ego, right? So my second tip would be to start having conversations about your sex life outside of the act of sex itself. So I would wait at least like a 12-hour window. So if you had sex that morning, like that evening, you could visit the conversation, or the next day, or on your weekly sex date that you have scheduled in your calendar. And then you can start having more of these conversations about sex where there's a space built into your day for it. So it doesn't seem like fucking out of the blue. Like, why is she bringing this up? Is she not happy about it? Am I doing something wrong? Like, oh my God, I'm the worst. I'm a failure. She doesn't love me. It's like, no, we like planned this. Like, we actually want to talk about our sex life because we want to have a great sex life, because we're in a long-term committed relationship. And like, at least for me, I'm monogamous. So I'm with one person and I want to keep things fresh and like hot and like fun and exciting, and also deep and connected. And like, I don't want these walls built up between us, because that comes into our bed, like into the bedroom. So it's a constant work. And so those would be my two things: plan a sex date and talk about sex during that time, or wait about a 12-hour window so that sex, when you're actually engaging in sex, it's just about that experience. It's not about, let's debrief.
Yeah.
Talk about it all right now. Like, no, just enjoy the experience.
So 12 hours removed from the scene of the crime. You want to wait till, you're not standing in the crime scene investigation being like, well, this wouldn't have happened if he would have just, whatever. Okay, no, that's really, really valuable. And I mean, it's so weird. Sex is weird. And we make it weird, and we make it worse, and we make it like all this fucking imagined shit. There's just something about walking up to, oh God, I really want him to go down on me while humming the Jurassic Park theme song or whatever thing, right?
Like that's everyone's dream.
Right. So, but no one will ask for that because they're afraid, right? And that fear is like palpable. It's real. It's right there. It's like, God, this sucks. You want to say it, but you can't because it's like preventing that. Is your advice just to fucking chuck that shit out, just spit it out and just say it, like Jurassic Park theme song, hum it on my clitoris? Like what are they doing to abate that fear? Are they just pushing right past it and being that direct and that honest? Or is there like a kid gloves? Like, I want to give them something really tangible to go with all of the cool stuff you set up.
Yes. So with taking full accountability and responsibility, yes. And the way that you can do that is how you phrase your language. So instead of saying, when we are having sex and you are doing this, the way I would like you to do it differently is, humming the Jurassic Park theme song while you do it. So just notice in that sentence, there's a lot of yous. So when you do this, I need you to do this differently. It's just the language. Like, you're trying to communicate in a way that like, just, you're putting it out there, right? Like, you're just saying it how it is. You want to do that. But instead of saying it that way, any time you can reframe that from an I place of something that I really like, and a big turn on for me is the Jurassic Park theme song. Like, I'm not sure why that turns me on, but like, it just, when that's playing in the background and I'm touching myself, like, it just fucking gets me going. So I would really love when you go down on me, if you could like try that out. Like, that would feel exciting for me. Is that something you would be open to? Is that weird to you? Like, get their feedback first and just see and just test the waters. And the thing that I would say is like, be willing to have your ego bruised a little bit, because, if like they've never thought of that and they're like, what? Like, even now listening to that specific thing in this podcast, like my reaction was like, what the fuck? Like the Jurassic Park, that might be their reaction to you wanting anal play. They might like, it's not because they aren't interested or wouldn't be willing to try it. It's just like, those words have never entered their brain. It's never been a thought for them. Like, it might be a shock and awe moment of like, wait, what? Like, you want what? That's not a judgment on you. So be willing to bruise your ego a little, and also be in a place of like, they're not coming at me. Give them a minute to like hear you, to adjust, and then ask like, is that something that you feel like you could do in the bedroom with me? Like, could we try it out and just see how it goes? Most people are willing to try anything once. Like, come on, let's be honest. Especially when it's phrased in that way of like, I would love this. This is a really big turn on for me. I want to give it a try. I feel like I'd really like it. Then it's like, oh, well, she'd really enjoy this. Yeah, let's give it a go. It's kind of like not anything I've ever thought about before, but fuck it, turn on the song. Let's get down to business, like whatever it is. But when it's you, I need you to do this and this is not right, then I don't care who you are. That feels like attack and blame and like it just feels shitty, like you're not doing enough. So learning, that's like one little kind of communication technique, is learning how to speak in a way that creates like full responsibility for your experience and what you want, separate from the other person. And then you're inviting them into, do you want to experience this with me? Because this is something I would like to experience. Does that help?
Yeah, it helps a fucking ton. Are you kidding me? And you worked in the Jurassic Park thing like over and over again, which is amazing, right? It's like,
try it at this point. Like, you never know.
Yeah.
That might be the shit.
Yeah, and I feel like if your partner can hum it, while they're going down on you, I mean, there's a lot of like ups and downs in that theme that I remember. I have no idea where that came from, but that's what you get when you come on Sex Party with me. It's going to be some weird, like fucking sideways shit. So
that's what I love about sex, though. Like, it's not supposed to be so like serious all the time. Like, I would legitimately try that just to laugh my ass off during it, like, and fuck it, it might be the best oral I've ever received, and I'm gonna be like, you have to hum that every time. And like, it'll be our little inside joke. Like, it creates, again, more intimacy and a memory, because it's like you've never done it before. You're not doing the same fucking position you do every night on Wednesday at 2 p.m. for 10 minutes. Like, it adds some novelty, some nuance, something different. So like, fucking do weird shit, give it a try, and then like you'll start to expand those pathways to pleasure that I talked about last time, right? Like, we get in this habitual pattern of, this is how we have sex, this is how we do it, this is how I get to orgasm, and we do that over and over because it's easy mentally too. It's like our brain likes those shortcuts. But when you want to spice things up and to bring in that newness, you have to try something different. And so you have to be able to express just those desires. Something else I'll add to that really quickly is a fun way to invite the conversation when you have your sex dates is to pick a book to read together. That way you don't have to be like, okay, what do we talk about today? Like, what's our conversation going to be about? A book actually right here that I'll recommend is called Tongue Tied. So this is specifically a book on communication and sex.
Awesome.
You could read this together, and a chapter at a time, do a chapter a week and say like, okay, how did you like that chapter? Where could we improve on our communication? And it gives you activities on like ways to start to have new conversations and to explore. So this book is called Tongue Tied by Stella Harris. And even on the title, it says Untangling Communication in Sex, Kink, and Relationships. And usually it's when you have something that you feel like is taboo or kinky, whatever that is. If it's taboo to you, it could literally be as simple as like getting smacked on the ass, but that could feel like wild to you.
Mm-hmm.
That's your kink. Like, it doesn't have to be fucking ropes and bondage, but that could still feel just as scary to ask for your partner to like start smacking your ass, So the book is really, really great. And that's a fun way too. You can read a book like that. You can pick up a Kama Sutra book that has different positions. And every week on sex night, you flip through the book and you land on a page, and that's the position you try. However fucking weird it is. You're doing a handstand and he's like on the bed, one foot on the bed, one foot on the floor, and it's all fucking backwards and twisted. But like, start bringing in kind of educational pieces so that you don't have to be like the source of inspiration all the time, and it can help guide those conversations.
Yeah, because, sex is supposed to be about exploration. And you're right. Even advanced people who are in the sex field, they go to that Wednesday at 10 p.m., 10-minute jam session, and they get what they like out of it, and then they're done, and that's it. And maybe it was good, or maybe it was boring, or whatever. But people do forget to explore. It is a thing. Like, you can do those things. I think that it's great if you have the greatest hits, right? You just play the great, especially if you're in a rush or something. Just do that thing. Let's do it. Blah blah blah, whatever, right? But I think when you do go into it for more of an exploration thing, when you do go into it like, I don't care if I fucking come, like, we're just going to fuck around, that's where the real gold is. And like, that is so valuable. But yet I think we put a lot of value, like self-value, on, did I get my partner off? Was it the best orgasm they ever had? Are they going to tell people I'm good and bad? Like, those things get up here. And so then it sort of trickles back down to like, well, I shouldn't explore. I should do what I know is going to work. Why is it not working? And all of that. So I think that's really important too, just to explore and like forget about the orgasm for a bit, you know?
That's the whole point of the sex date, is like this time we set aside it's not about orgasm. And sometimes, especially if, like, let's say earlier in the week, you had like a little fight or something that wasn't resolved, that time is actually about creating resolution, harmony, love, and connection. So you might not even get naked. It might just be a 60-minute, like, heart-to-heart conversation with no distractions, no screens. You've set aside this time to like just feel closer. That is the point, to feel closer and to have fun, explorative play. That's it. And if you don't orgasm, great. Because those are the things that you bring back into your greatest hits, like you said, and everyone does have that. I'm a sex coach, and like, yes, our morning sex is like, it's our greatest hit. Like, that's our one that's on repeat. And it's great because we're just waking up and like sleepy, and there's not a whole lot of energy, but it's also like some of the best sex too, even though it's kind of repetitive at times. So it's like, have those greatest hits, like you said. Keep up your self-pleasure practice like we talked about last time, because that'll help you continue to stay open in your own body and emotions. And then if you can build this into your relationship and start meeting once a week, and how exciting, people think, I don't want to schedule sex. Like, that feels so unadventurous. It's so exciting. Like, it's so exciting because you're like, oh, okay, like next week, Thursdays is our sex date night. We have from like 6 to 7 p.m. We get off work. Then you get to like plan shit. You're like, oh my God, okay, I've got this new piece of lingerie. I'm going to put that on. Or, oh my gosh, I want to like talk about this thing that I heard on a podcast last week. And you have a space to do that. And it's like, you get excited. Or if you guys are super fucking busy and you have a go lifestyle that sometimes sex is on the back burner, you're like, okay, I'm a little horny right now. My husband's at work, or just completely swamped. Instead of me going in, trying to like initiate sex, getting rejected, feeling like a piece of shit, it's like, okay, we have our sex date, and I'm just going to like store up all of this sexy energy. And when it's fucking Thursday at 6 p.m., we're going to town. It actually is more exciting. So don't let this idea that you're scheduling it in, penciling it into your calendar, think like, oh, how like boring of us. Like, just wait. I promise it's actually fucking amazing.
Yeah, I think it's really exciting. And I think nowadays with all of the stuff, like, you put that shit in your Google Calendar, right? Like, you can fucking have a little countdown to it. And like you said, it's fucking really exciting. You can like, oh, you're going to get it Thursday at fucking 8:00, like all that. You can tease each other.
That anticipation.
Yeah.
Yes.
Anticipation is fucking everything. And I also think the other thing you said too, about doing the greatest hits like regularly, like for you guys it's the morning, right? Because you're getting that, and then you also have this other thing where like you're doing wild, unknown, crazy shit every fucking week. So you're getting both. So I love that.
Exactly.
Yeah, I think it's amazing. If you do try the Jurassic Park thing with your partner, you have to come back and talk about it with me. I have to know. We have to get it out to the people, right? And also, like, if it works, then you can like tell all your clients, like, there's this weird thing, this weird guy on this weird podcast. It's a hit, right? So that
I have this like idea in my head right now of creating a reel about how to ask for a kink. And I'm going to just put the fucking Jurassic Park theme song in there. Like, I'm going to just do a little role play of how to ask. And they'll be like, babe, I really just want like the Jurassic Park theme song. And then we'll just like blasted in the reel, and then just wait. I'm coming up with this whole plan. So
totally, I can't wait to see it. I think the really important thing too that we touched on a little even before we started recording, but also like throughout this whole thing, right, is that anxiety, that fear about like, it's almost like a fever. Like once it starts, it's like you can spiral and you can get like really worked up, and it goes like from 0 to a fucking 108 like real quick. So can we give them, from your professional sex coach, intelligent mindset, doing this kind of work, can we give them something tangible and real to, maybe fight the anxiety or whatever. Maybe it's just like agree with the anxiety, but get it to go down either way to the point where they can actually enjoy their fucking sex.
yes. Okay. So what I'm hearing is this is like in the actual act of sex itself, all of these thoughts show up, or like a day-to-day life?
I think it's both. I think that when sex is really important to someone, and I've gone through this, you think about it, you obsess about it, and you look at maybe where the holes are for you, like the things you think are wrong with your sex, with whatever, but that slowly becomes, oh God, these things are wrong with me. And then you spiral into like this anxious sort of cycle about sex, and am I good at it, or is something wrong? Why does it feel this way this time? And all of the things. And it becomes, like I said, it becomes like a fever, right? And you're in a cabin, so cabin fever. But you get it, right? It becomes part of the show, even though it wasn't invited. So not only is it showing up outside your sex life, but then it shows up like when you go to have sex, and maybe you can't get hard, maybe you're dry, maybe it's like a whole fucking thing. And I think, how do we stop it in its tracks?
Yes. Okay. Thank you for clarifying.
Of course. That's what I'm here for.
What I'm going to recommend, and this has been a game changer for me, is a book. This book fucked my day up like 4 months ago. It's called The 5 Personality Patterns by Stephen Kessler. And in this book, he breaks down how oftentimes, especially when we are like in states of depression, anxiety, right, when it just feels like we're not even ourselves, what we are actually doing is playing out our pattern, like our typical go-to pattern. So the 5 patterns, and hopefully I'll remember this. The first one is leaving. So some people, when they get overly stressed and their whole like nervous system kind of just maxes out, they'll leave. Literally, like these people will like fucking get in their car, drive away, like leave the situation, leave the relationship. Like these are the people who like are on again, off again. I can't deal with the shit. I'm out of here. Just kidding. I'm back. That's your pattern. The second one is merging. So this is the people who want to like people please. Like instead of taking accountability and self-reflecting, they'll go to their partner and be like, well, what do you need? How can I take care of you? And they'll just do everything they can to please that person. But it literally just like drives up the anxiety and the depression, because what they actually need is self-reflection. The third one is enduring. So some people, when they're in pattern, they just like endure. Like they'll like literally you could like be yelling at them, throwing a bunch of shit at them, and they'll just like hunker down and like take it. Literally take the abuse. They'll almost like just shut down, go inward. The fourth one is aggressive. So sometimes you'll just like, it comes up and out and you'll shout, you'll yell, you'll be like the aggressor. And then the fifth one is rigid. These are the very like, everything has to be a certain way. There's rules to everything. If you break the rules, then you're fucking it up. Like you have to be perfect almost. So those are the 5 patterns. So my advice is, 1, check out this book, because something that helped me specifically is separating that this pattern that I go to is not me. I'm underneath that pattern. Like the authentic me, Lindsey, I'm not the pattern. So this isn't like another like, like Enneagram or Myers-Briggs or what's your personality? Like this is actually kind of the opposite of when you can identify your pattern, you can recognize, oh, this isn't me. So now how do I get out of that pattern to step back into the present moment so that then I can move forward without all of this anxiety and pain and suffering and depression and identifying with it to the point where you think, I am depressed, I am anxious. And even then to the point of like going to the doctor because you don't know what the fuck to do and getting on medication, right? Like it's there if we need it. But the reason I'm bringing all this in is because this actually helped me in my relationship when it comes to communicating in the bedroom, right? Let's say you're actually in the act of sex. For me, my pattern is merging out of those 5. So what I tend to go to is how can I give to my partner and give until my cup is empty. When I realized that, I thought that was like my superpower because I'm like, this is just what I do. And there are superpowers that come with it. But when I realized that when I get overly stressed, my tendency is to overgive, that helped me to be like, whoa, actually, I'm in pattern. And the way to get out of this is to give back to myself. So instead of that moment of in the bedroom, feeling like my cup is empty, but instead of like going full force and like, let me just lavish you in love and give you all of the blowjobs and like make it all about you, it was like, no, I need to take a step back. I need to go into another room. I need to take care of myself. I'm going to go take a bath. I'm going to fill my own cup. And then I can come back to this and ask for what I would like and have needs of my own and have those be met. So it's going to look different for each of the patterns. And it's funny. I did not expect to even bring this into the conversation today, but to kind of wrap this all up, what I'll say about the anxiety or having a hard time having the conversation is it's probably not who you really are. It's just you are in such a heightened state of stress and your nervous system is maxed the fuck out that you go into fighting or just obsessive thoughts that take you out of being present. So check out the book. And in the book, it gives you different like ways to get out of pattern, to come back into being present, and to also just identify those moments when you are being the aggressor or when you're leaving or when you become super rigid and realizing, oh, like this isn't actually who I am. I'm just stressed out. How can I take care of myself so that I can revisit this conversation or sex or anything in your relationship actually as myself instead of my stressed out version of myself. Does that make sense?
Wow. Okay. First of all, the audience is on their feet. They're applauding. They're screaming. You can't see or hear them because that's in the future. But like, you fucking killed it. Lindsey Darger, thank you so much for being on the show with me. Let's remind them where they can hang out with you online. Where can they work with you? Where can they learn all of the fucking amazingness?
Yes. So like I shared, go to my website. It's lindseydarger.com and you can get access to virtual pussy paint night for 50% off using the code SEXPARTY. So you can learn all the anatomy stuff we covered in the last episode plus more. And then just find me on Instagram at Lindsey Darger. I'm currently running my 12-week group coaching program called Pleasure University. And I also have one-on-one coaching opportunities if you'd like to work together. So thank you so much, Dustin. You know, these conversations with you they're always so fun. And I really appreciate you inviting me back on the show to have a very different conversation than last time. It's been a great time.
Yeah, no, it's my pleasure. And you will be back. We're going to have to do it again. So, you know, that's coming. Everybody stay tuned. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Giant thank you to my guest this week, Lindsey Darger, for being on the show with me. Fucking amazing. Hope you guys go memorize the Jurassic Park theme song and get humming. If you are enjoying guests like Lindsey, if you are loving Sex Party, there's a couple different ways you can show that if you wish. You do not have to. You can, if you're listening on Apple or Spotify or any of the audio platforms, you can subscribe to the show. That's the most important. You can leave a rating. You can leave a review. If you are watching on YouTube, hello. If you're watching on YouTube, you can like the video. You can subscribe to the channel. You can leave a comment. You can share with your friends. You know what I'm going to say next? 2 things. 1, if you want to talk to me, reach out in the DMs on Instagram. And 2, I'll see y'all back here next week.
Thanks for listening. The party continues next week. Click subscribe and let's make this a regular thing. Follow the show on Instagram and Twitter @SexPartyFM. Follow Dustin @DustinRybka.